The gravel crunched under Liam Carter's boots as he walked the narrow path toward the eastern fence line. Except there shouldn't have been a fence there at all. Not on his land. His heart tightened the moment he saw it. A fresh, steel, HOA-style barrier stretching across the boundary, on property he owned outright. For weeks, he'd been preparing to clear these 2 acres for a home expansion. Now the entire plot was boxed in, posted with polished metal signs reading, HOA Managed Parcel, No Entry. Liam stood there silently, his jaw locked. He had every deed, every survey, every receipt for the last 15 years, and yet someone inside the HOA had illegally seized his property under the guise of common area reassignment. A door slammed behind him. That sharp clip sound, unmistakable. Karen Whitmore, the HOA president, stepped out from a white SUV. Normally, her arrival meant trouble. Complaints, rules, fines, but today her expression wasn't smug, it was grim. "Liam," she said quietly, eyes fixed on the fence, "I need to talk to you. And before you bite my head off, just know I didn't approve this." Liam folded his arms, skeptical. "Your signature's on every HOA document. Don't tell me you don't know about this." Karen shook her head, lowering her voice. "Dalton did it. The treasurer. He forged my approval." Her words hit harder than the cold morning wind. Then she added something that made the whole situation turn from infuriating to dangerous. "He's planning to sell your land to a developer under the HOA's name, and if you fight this publicly, he'll make sure the board backs him, not the truth." For the first time ever, Karen Whitmore wasn't Liam's enemy. Today, she might be his only doorway back to the truth, and his only shield against someone who wanted those acres badly enough to commit fraud. Before we dive deeper into story, tell me where are you listening from, and don't forget to subscribe and share, because tomorrow I have got something special for you. Karen led Liam into her SUV, locking the doors as if they were in enemy territory. The tension inside felt electric, 2 longtime adversaries now forced into the same foxhole. She pulled a folder from under her seat, thick with highlighted pages and sticky notes. "Dalton Reed," she began, tapping the folder, "has been manipulating board votes for over a year. Fake signatures, backroom deals. He even paid a surveyor to redraw boundary lines." Liam frowned. "And you're just now telling me?" She flinched, but didn't snap back, unusual for her. "Because until last week, I didn't have proof. Now I do." She opened the folder. Inside were copies of land transfer drafts, maps with scribbled corrections, and most damning of all, emails. Dalton's emails. Emails where he discussed Liam's land like it was already sold. But the most chilling line was the one she pointed to with a trembling finger. "Secure the 2-acre parcel. Owner won't fight if the board leans hard enough." He felt heat rise in his chest. "He thinks intimidation will work?" Karen exhaled shakily. "Liam, he's gone too far, and he's dragging the entire HOA into legal hell. I want him removed before he destroys all of us." He stared at her, trying to read her intentions. "Why help me? What's in it for you?" Her jaw tightened. "Because Dalton threatened me too." Liam blinked. "What?" Karen's voice cracked, not from weakness but from rage she'd been forced to swallow. "He told the board he'd expose incompetence and push me out if I didn't sign every change he presented. He's been cornering me, just as he cornered you." Suddenly, this wasn't an HOA fight anymore. It wasn't about rules, fences, or petty power. This was about survival, hers and his. And in that moment, Liam realized something shocking. Karen Whitmore wasn't his enemy today. She was the first person telling him the truth. That same evening, the sun dipped behind the ridge, spilling long shadows over Liam's porch as he waited for the sheriff's truck to pull up the dirt drive. When Sheriff Blake arrived, he moved with a slow, heavy purpose. Someone who had seen far too many neighbor disputes turn explosive. But this wasn't ordinary neighborhood drama. Inside the house, Karen sat stiffly at the kitchen table, hands clasped, her gaze flicking between the sheriff and the folder of evidence. Blake took one look at the documents, eyebrows knitting together. He wasn't a man who showed emotion easily, but the shift in his expression said everything. "You're telling me," he said, turning a page slowly, "that the HOA treasurer forged signatures, redrew property lines, and filed a reassignment of land without county approval?" Karen swallowed. "Yes, and he used my name to do it." Blake pressed his palm on the table, leaning in. "Liam, if this is accurate, it isn't an HOA dispute. It's criminal fraud." The room felt smaller suddenly, the air dense with the weight of what came next. Liam paced slowly across the hardwood floor. This fence. They already put it up like the land belongs to them. If Dalton's bold enough to do this, what's next? Bulldozers? Blake gave a small nod. Wouldn't be the first time a crooked board tried to fast-track development. Karen flinched at the implication, but she didn't argue. Sheriff Blake continued. "I'm issuing a freeze on all HOA activity related to this parcel. No construction, no sale, no modification." For the first time since discovering the fence, Liam felt a thread of hope tighten inside him. But Blake wasn't finished. "I'll need statements from both of you. And Karen?" She looked up, holding her breath. "If you're cooperating, you're going to help us expose him. All the way." Karen nodded slowly, relieved and terrified all at once. The sheriff stood tall, collecting the evidence. "Dalton Reed wants a war over these 2 acres, but now he's got 3 people standing in his way." A storm had been building on the horizon, literally. Thunder rumbled through the valley as Blake stepped outside, flicking on his radio. For the first time, Liam wasn't fighting alone, and Dalton had no idea what was coming. Rain hammered against Liam's rooftop as night swallowed the valley. Inside, the lights were dim, the house warm, but the tension sat thick in the air like smoke. Liam poured coffee for Karen while she anxiously tapped her nails against the ceramic mug. "He's not going to sit quietly," she muttered, staring out the window as thunder flashed. "When Dalton senses someone turning on him, he acts fast." Liam leaned against the counter, arms folded. "Which is exactly why we're staying ahead of him." She nodded, swallowing back nerves. "There's something I didn't show the sheriff yet. Something I didn't want in public record until I trusted what side you were on." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive, matte black, unmarked. Liam felt the room shift. "These are internal HOA financial files," Karen said quietly. "Transactions Dalton didn't expect anyone to see. Payments that don't make sense, missing funds, and—" A flash of lightning illuminated her face. "And a development blueprint he's been hiding for months. The blueprint includes your land, Liam, not as a question, but as already approved." Liam's jaw clenched. "So he planned to take it from the beginning." Karen nodded. "I think he's been buying off certain board members, and if I'm right, this goes deeper than just a land grab." They opened Liam's laptop. The screen glowed softly in the dark room, illuminating spreadsheets, falsified invoices, and a network of manipulated approvals. Then Liam found something that made his stomach drop. Email chains between Dalton and a private developer dated months ago, detailing plans to sell a 6-acre expansion parcel, even though the HOA only owned 4. Dalton had counted Liam's 2 acres as if they were already his, as if Liam didn't exist. A loud vehicle roared past the house, floodlights sweeping across the windows. Karen stiffened. "That's one of the HOA board members' trucks." Liam closed the laptop instantly, the room falling into soft darkness. Outside, the engine slowed, paused, then kept rolling into the stormy night. Karen whispered, eyes fixed on the window. "He's already moving. He knows we're on to him." Liam felt an iron resolve lock into place. Then we hit back first. The storm outside roared, but inside the house, a new kind of storm was forming. Quiet, cold, and dangerous.
The next morning, the storm clouds still clung low over the valley, soaking the earth and leaving a mist drifting between the pines. Liam stepped out onto his porch with a hard knot in his chest. Today, he needed to see the fence again, with new eyes, now that he knew what Dalton had planned. Karen joined him, hood up, clutching her coat tight around her. She was different this morning, not defensive or sharp like the HOA president she used to be, but wary, almost hunted. They reached the edge of Liam's property, boots sinking into the wet soil, and there it was, the illegal fence. Taller than standard code, thicker posts than the HOA ever used, fresh padlocks still dripping rainwater. Liam walked the length of it slowly, studying each detail. Karen kept glancing back toward the road, as if expecting someone to appear from the fog. Dalton didn't just put this up fast. He put it up quietly. No crews, no noise, no permits. Karen nodded. He hired a private team. I recognize the style. They work on quiet projects. Stuff the HOA wants done off paper. Liam crouched, fingers brushing the fresh concrete. This isn't just a fence. It's a line in the sand. He traced its path and froze. The fence didn't just run along the property line, it cut through it. Meaning Dalton didn't even pretend this belonged to the HOA, he simply took it. Karen stepped up beside him, breathing hard. This is proof, physical proof of the fraud. Sheriff Blake needs photos of this before Dalton sends someone to fix the scene. So they worked fast. Liam snapping clear images, Karen taking measurements, marking GPS points with a precision that shocked him. "You've done this before," Liam said. Karen's face tightened. "I've had to fix mistakes others tried to hide." As they finished documenting, a sudden metallic click echoed through the woods. Liam spun around. A man was standing at the tree line, hood up, clipboard in hand, staring at them. One of Dalton's contractors. The man turned and walked off without a word. But Liam knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just watching, he was reporting. Karen grabbed Liam's sleeve. "We need to get back, now." Because the moment that man made his call, Dalton would know exactly who was on Liam's side, and he would not react quietly. By afternoon, the fog had lifted, but something far more dangerous settled over Liam's land. A sudden, unnatural silence. Even the birds sounded cautious. Liam and Karen were inside reviewing the photos when his phone buzzed. It was Sheriff Blake. "Liam, stay put. I'm on my way." Before Liam could ask why, the sheriff hung up. Karen looked pale. That means he found something. 10 minutes later, Blake's SUV rolled up the dirt drive. He stepped out holding a thick folder, his expression dark, jaw tight. He didn't waste time sitting. Dalton filed an emergency injunction this morning. He claimed the HOA owns the land and accused you of trespassing. Liam blinked hard. What? Karen snatched the papers from the folder and scanned them. Her face drained of color. He used the forged map, the one we haven't exposed yet. He submitted it as evidence. Blake nodded grimly. He also filed a complaint stating that you're hostile and obstructing lawful HOA development, and he's pushing for a temporary hold on all county investigations. Liam felt the room tilt. Dalton wasn't reacting emotionally. He was executing a counterattack. Karen crossed her arms tightly. "He's trapping us. If the county freezes investigations, we lose time, and Dalton moves fast." Blake leaned forward. "That contractor who saw you two at the fence? Dalton used that as proof you tampered with it. He's framing you as the aggressors." Liam felt something cold and sharp twist inside him. "So what do we do?" He wasn't asking out of fear, but calculation. Sheriff Blake didn't hesitate. "We expose him, publicly, before his injunction gets traction." He dropped a USB on the table. I got a warrant to pull HOA Communications from last month. And Liam? Karen? Dalton slipped up. Karen's breath hitched. What did you find? Blake met both their eyes. A recorded call. Dalton bragging about taking your land before the county could interfere. He didn't realize the system automatically logged audio during board meetings. Karen closed her eyes. Liam clenched his fists. Blake continued. We're taking this to the county clerk tonight, before Dalton has time to bury it. But before anyone could move, Karen's phone buzzed. One single message. No name, no punctuation, just one chilling line. Stop digging. Liam stared at the screen. This wasn't just an HOA dispute anymore. Someone out there was watching. And they weren't bluffing.
The sun had barely set when Karen read the text again, her fingers trembling around the phone. Liam stood beside her, shoulders tense, scanning the tree line through the window as if expecting eyes staring back. That message isn't from Dalton, Karen whispered. He doesn't threaten like that. He bullies with paperwork, not with shadows. Liam stepped closer. Then who? Karen hesitated, swallowing hard. Dalton isn't the brains, he's the face. There are people behind him, silent partners on the HOA board. They profit from land grabs, rezoning, flipping property fast before anyone notices. Liam stared at her. And you knew? She whispered. I suspected, but I never had proof. Before she could say more, headlights swept across the window. Sheriff Blake returned, but this time he wasn't alone. He stepped out of his vehicle, jaw tight, scanning the road behind him. Liam, Karen, inside now. They locked the door behind them. Blake lowered his voice. I just got word from a deputy. Someone followed me here from town. They turned off their lights 2 miles back. He looked at Karen. Whoever texted you knows we're moving too fast. Liam felt the air grow heavy. So what do they want? Blake's answer was simple. To scare you, to slow you down, to keep Dalton's injunction alive long enough for him to steal the land on paper. Karen sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. But Liam wasn't shaken. Not anymore. He looked at both of them and spoke with the steady resolve of a man who'd lost enough. They're scared of something we have. Let's figure out what it is and use it. And in that moment, Liam felt it. A shift. The hunted was ready to hunt back. By midnight, rain washed over the valley in sheets, turning every road into a glistening snake of reflections. Blake drove while Liam and Karen sat in the back, going over the recorded call again and again. Dalton's voice filled the car. The county won't notice if we take it this quarter. Carter will fold. He has no proof, and even if he fights, I have people who can fix that. Karen shut the laptop, her jaw trembling. You realize what this means, she said quietly. Dalton didn't just plan to steal your land. He bragged about having county insiders who could make evidence disappear. Liam's chest tightened. Does Jenna know? Jenna's the only honest one left in that entire office. She's been fighting these guys for years. That's why I trust her with this first. The rain intensified, hammering the windshield. Suddenly, Karen leaned forward. Blake, someone's behind us again. A pair of headlights appeared in the rearview mirror. No plate lights, no turn signals. Blake's grip tightened on the wheel. That's the same car from earlier. Liam sat taller. Is it Dalton? No, Blake said. Dalton doesn't have the nerve for real confrontations. This is someone else. The car behind them sped up. Blake turned sharply onto a side road, tires skidding on wet gravel. The other car followed. Karen's breath hitched. They're not backing off. Liam felt the old instinct rising, that cold, calculating awareness born from years of handling conflict with precision. He said softly, lose them. Blake nodded once. The sheriff killed the lights, took a hard right into a narrow forest road, branches scraping the roof as they plunged into darkness. They held their breath until the pursuing headlights vanished. Only then did Blake speak. We have enemies we don't see, which means whatever Dalton is hiding is bigger than land. They arrived at the county clerk's office through the back entrance. Jenna Marsh, short-haired and sharp-eyed, was waiting with a flashlight and a stack of keys. She ushered them inside without a word. After locking the door, she spoke in a low voice. I knew Dalton was dirty, but I didn't know he was stupid enough to leave a recording trail. Blake handed her the USB. "We need it entered as evidence immediately, tonight." Jenna plugged it in, listened for 30 seconds, then froze. "This," she whispered, "this is enough to overturn every land-related decision he's made for 3 years." Karen's eyes widened. "Including Liam's?" Jenna nodded. "Including the fraudulent rezoning, the bogus maps, the stolen acres, all of it." Liam exhaled slowly. "So I can get my land back?" "You will," Jenna said. "But listen carefully. This next part matters." She opened a drawer, pulled out a long, thin envelope, and handed it to Liam. "This came across my desk last month. I didn't understand it then, but now it makes perfect sense." Liam opened it and stared. Inside was a survey map. Not a forged one, not an HOA one, but the original county map. And his land wasn't just 2 acres. It was 4. Liam looked up, stunned. Karen covered her mouth. Blake swore under his breath. Jenna stepped closer. "Dalton didn't just steal from you. He cut your property in half and planned to sell the other 2 acres to a developer. He erased the real boundaries." Liam felt something hot and dangerous rise in his chest. Not fear, not shock. Determination. "They tried to take nearly everything," he said quietly. "Now, I'm taking everything back." Just as Jenna saved the evidence file, her office phone rang. Not her cell, not the county line, but a private line that almost no one had access to. She stared at it. "That's impossible." The screen flashed a single name: Dalton Reed. Karen whispered, "He knows we're here." Jenna answered, voice cold. "This is the county clerk's office?" Dalton's voice oozed through the speaker, low and venomous. "Jenna, you're making a mistake." Karen stepped closer, fists clenched. "You're playing with things you don't understand. That land belongs to us, and the people I work with don't like surprises." He paused. "Tell Carter I'm giving him one last chance. Sign the land over and walk away tonight." Liam took the phone from Jenna. His voice was steady, dead calm. "No." On the other end, Dalton inhaled sharply. "You don't get it. I'm trying to save you. You think this is about land? It isn't. It's bigger. These people—" The line suddenly cut. Not a drop, a cut. Jenna stared at the phone. He didn't hang up. Someone disconnected the call. Blake's voice was firm. "We need to leave, now." But when they stepped outside, something was waiting in the darkness. A row of black SUVs lined the street. No logos, no plates, engines running. Karen whispered, "They're here." Liam stepped in front of the group, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He was ready.
The engines rumbled softly, a low animal growl vibrating through the cold night air. Liam stepped forward, rain glistening on his shoulders as droplets slid down the metal hoods of the 3 black SUVs blocking the street. Karen felt her stomach twist. "These aren't HOA people," she whispered. "Dalton couldn't afford this kind of muscle." Sheriff Blake placed a hand on his holster, not to draw, but to steady himself. "Stay behind me, no sudden moves." As they watched, the SUV doors didn't open. No threats, no shouts, just silence. Too much silence. Then one window slowly rolled down. A man in a suit, face invisible in the shadows, spoke calmly. "Walk away from this case. This is your only warning." Liam didn't flinch. "Who are you?" The man didn't answer. Instead, another SUV's headlights flared, bright enough to force them to shield their eyes. When the light dimmed, the road was suddenly empty. The SUVs were gone, all of them, without a sound. Karen whispered, "This is bigger than Bolton, way bigger." Blake nodded grimly. That wasn't intimidation, that was surveillance. They were checking how far you're willing to push back. Liam clenched his fists. "They can watch all they want. We're not stopping." But as they drove away, Karen kept staring at the rear window, fear creeping into her bones. Because those SUVs didn't leave, they simply melted back into the dark, waiting for their next move. They returned to Liam's property sometime past 2 a.m. Fog clung to the dirt road, and the house windows glowed faintly, a small island of light in the valley. Inside, Blake triple-checked the locks while Liam set the evidence on the table. Karen, though, didn't sit. She paced, arms wrapped around herself, breathing unevenly. Finally, Liam stopped her. "Karen, what aren't you telling us?" She froze. Blake watched her carefully. "We need everything, no more surprises." Karen slowly sank into a chair, fingers trembling as she pulled off her glasses. "This started 2 years ago," she whispered. "Dalton became treasurer, and suddenly the HOA had money, too much money. He told the board it was investment returns, but I saw the transfers." She looked up at Liam, eyes filled with guilt. "He was getting paid by developers to force homeowners out, to pressure them, to make their property look unattractive so they'd sell cheap." Liam leaned closer. "And my land?" Karen's voice cracked. "It was the biggest payday. They planned to turn your 4 acres into luxury rentals. Dalton was promised a 6-figure cut, but he needed the land fast and clean." Blake's expression hardened. "Which explains the forged maps." Karen nodded. "And the mysterious partners?" Liam asked quietly. "They're not board members. They're corporate enforcers, hired by the developers. They clean up messes. They silence complaints." Silence hung heavy in the room. Finally, Liam spoke. "You knew, and you stayed quiet." Karen blinked hard, tears forming. I didn't know how deep it went until it was too late. By then, they scared me, just like tonight." Liam took a step back, processing her confession. But Blake placed a hand on Karen's shoulder. "You broke rank. You helped Liam. That puts a target on you bigger than his." Karen nodded shakily. "I know." And in the dim kitchen light, Liam realized something. Karen wasn't just an ally. She was a whistleblower. And whistleblowers don't survive unless someone protects them.
Karen whispered, "They were planning this for over a year. Dalton wasn't the mastermind. He was the salesman." Blake leaned closer. "This blueprint is dynamite. If we leak it, the developers lose millions." Karen looked up sharply. "And they will not let that happen quietly." Liam exhaled slowly. "Good. Let them come." Because at this point, he wasn't fighting for land anymore. He was fighting to expose everything. Just before noon, Blake received a call. He stepped outside to take it, pacing the porch. When he returned, his face was grim, but also strangely energized. "That was Deputy Cross. They picked up Dalton." Karen jumped to her feet. "Is he okay? Did something happen?" Blake shook his head. "He's not injured, but he's terrified." He walked into the station shaking and asked for protection. Liam frowned. "Protection from who?" Blake answered quietly. "His partners. The same people who sent those SUVs. Dalton said they're cleaning house now that the evidence is leaking." Karen put a hand over her mouth. "What did he tell them?" Liam asked. Blake met his eyes. "Everything. The fraud, the money, the fake maps, the land grab. And he said one more thing." Liam tensed. "What?" "Dalton claims your land was part of a protected trust from decades ago. If you have the original deed, the entire valley becomes legally shielded from development." Karen whispered, "Which means the developers lose everything." Liam felt the weight of a new revelation settle in. My grandmother's lockbox. I never opened it after she passed. It's still in my attic." Blake nodded. "We need that deed, and we need it now." But as Liam headed toward the attic stairs, a shadow passed by the window, a quiet footstep on the gravel outside. Karen's eyes widened. "They're here." Liam spread the dusty county blueprint across his kitchen table, the paper cracking like old bones. Karen Whitmore hovered beside him, arms crossed, tapping her nails on the wood, nervous, defensive, but trying not to show it. Marked in red ink was a bizarre square drawn over Liam's 2-acre boundary with a handwritten note at the bottom. "Future HOA reserve land, no records required. Signed, Dalton Reed." Karen froze. "I never approved this," she whispered. But Liam was watching her carefully. "You didn't, but your treasurer did, and he hid it under your name." As the realization hit her, the color drained from her face. Her anger wasn't at Liam this time. It was turning full force toward Dalton. Before they could react, headlights swept across Liam's windows. Sheriff Blake stepped inside, hat low, jaw tight. "We found something," he said, laying a small metal evidence bag on the table. "Bolt cutters, fresh soil. Found at Dalton's property." Karen's eyes widened. "He planned to dig again tonight." Liam felt the tension coil inside him. Dalton wasn't going to stop. He was accelerating. And the blueprint on the table? It proved Dalton wasn't just stealing land. He was trying to redraw the map. Sheriff Blake sighed deeply. "There's something else you both need to see, and you're not gonna like it." Sheriff Blake drove Liam and Karen to the old community center building behind the HOA clubhouse. The windows glowed faintly, just enough to show silhouettes moving inside. "Dalton's holding a board meeting," Blake said. "Unofficial, illegal, and from what we heard on scanner chatter, it's about your land." Through the blinds, Liam saw Dalton standing at the head of a folding table, papers spread around him like a war map. Dalton thumped the table. "We finalize the boundary adjustment tonight. By the time the county wakes up tomorrow, the new map will already be filed." One board member hesitated. "Dalton, the sheriff is already investigating." Dalton slammed his fist again. "I said file it!" Karen leaned close to Liam. "I'm ending this." Blake placed a hand on her shoulder. "Not yet. You two need proof." He pushed a recorder into Liam's hand, its tiny LED blinking. "Get close. Get the confession." Liam took a slow breath. Karen met his eyes, an unspoken truce solidifying between them. Tonight, they weren't enemies. They were partners in a war neither of them started. They moved quietly toward the side door. Just as Liam lifted the recorder, the doorknob clicked. Someone inside was coming out. The side door swung open. A flashlight beam hit Liam directly in the eyes. "Hey, who's out there?" It was Mark Atwood, one of the more hostile board members. Liam reacted fast, pulling Karen behind a shed wall. Blake grabbed Atwood's arm from behind in one swift motion. Atwood yelped, "Sheriff, what's going on?" "You're going to answer questions," Blake growled, pinning him gently but firmly. Inside the building, Dalton's voice boomed. "Mark, everything all right?" They were seconds from being discovered. Liam pointed toward the back window. "Karen, your office window opens from the inside, right?" She nodded. "It's broken, never fixed it." "Perfect." They slipped along the shadows, reached the back of the building, and Karen slid the window open with practiced ease. Inside, Dalton continued ranting. "We take those acres, we get the grant. $50,000. The community will finally have money again." The recorder caught every word. But then, Dalton turned, eyes narrowing. "Where's Mark? He should have been back by now." He started walking toward the side door. Liam whispered, If he steps outside, he'll see Blake with Mark. She nodded. They needed a distraction. Her eyes darted to the old breaker box. Liam, you know electricity, right? Former engineer. You thinking what I'm thinking? Karen smirked. Blackout. Liam moved in seconds, quiet, precise, flipping 2 switches. The entire building went dark. Inside, the board members panicked. Dalton cursed loudly. Perfect chaos. But then, in the darkness, Dalton shouted, "Check the rear window! I saw movement earlier!" Liam and Karen scrambled away from the window just as 2 HOA members rushed over with phone flashlights. They ducked behind air conditioning units, hearts pounding. Sheriff Blake whispered over his radio, "Stay down. I'm approaching from the north side." Inside, Dalton continued barking orders, unaware Liam's recorder had captured every incriminating detail. And then, it happened. Dalton yelled, loud enough for the whole room to hear, "I don't care if it's legal or not. We need that land. I did what I had to do." With Dalton in custody, Karen and Liam pored over the remaining documents. The HOA's hidden transactions revealed shocking details: developers, forged permits, and falsified meeting minutes. This is bigger than I thought," Karen muttered. "Dalton was just the puppet. The real players are still funding these schemes." Liam clenched his fists. "Then we expose all of them. No hiding, no loopholes." Sheriff Blake nodded. "County attorneys are on standby. Once we file this, the HOA faces a full investigation. This is their moment of reckoning." The tension rose again. Justice felt close, yet fragile, like a house of cards waiting for a whisper. Weeks later, the courtroom buzzed with murmurs as the HOA board convened. Dalton sat restrained, glowering. Karen sat beside Liam, papers neatly stacked, ready to testify. When the county clerk presented the verified deeds, the room went silent. Liam's land, all 4 acres, was officially and legally recognized as his. The forged maps, the fraudulent filings, every lie Dalton tried to bury was exposed. Dalton sputtered, trying to speak, but the judge raised a hand. "This court recognizes Liam Carter as the rightful owner. Any interference with this property will be met with full legal action." Liam let out a slow breath. Justice had arrived, but the tension wasn't gone. It lingered like a shadow. Outside the courthouse, Karen finally allowed herself a deep exhale. Liam looked at her, the first real smile appearing on his face in days. You really helped me. Even after everything." Karen shrugged, a small, awkward smile breaking through. "I had to make it right. I couldn't let Dalton get away with it." Sheriff Blake approached. "You were brave, Karen. Not everyone would have done that, not even under pressure from Dalton." Karen's gaze swept the courthouse steps, the wind tossing her hair. "Maybe I needed someone to remind me what's right." Liam nodded. For the first time, he didn't feel alone against the HOA. Back at the 2-acre plot, Liam walked the perimeter, feeling every stake, every blade of grass, as if reconnecting with something stolen, but never broken. Karen helped him replant the boundary markers, restoring order to the chaos Dalton had caused. The fence was repaired, survey lines corrected, and a sense of permanence settled over the property. Sheriff Blake stood a few paces away, observing quietly, ever the guardian of the law. "This is yours now. No one can touch it, legally." Liam handed a hand across the freshly planted soil, the rain now a soft drizzle. "It feels like freedom." Karen nodded, almost silently. "It's more than land. It's respect." Days later, Dalton's trial began. With Karen's testimony, Blake's evidence, and Liam's perseverance, the court proceedings moved swiftly. Dalton was convicted of fraud, forgery, and attempted land theft. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, snapping photos of Liam and Karen standing side by side. The once feared HOA president had become an unlikely ally, and the crooked treasurer had finally fallen. As the sun dipped over the valley, Liam looked out across the 2-acre land, now fully restored. The fence stood straight, the trees swayed gently, and peace finally felt earned. Karen turned to him, smirking. "You really cleaned up a mess I helped make worse." Liam laughed softly, shaking his head. "You didn't just help, you saved it." Sheriff Blake approached. "All's right with the valley, for now, but don't let anyone try this again." Liam's gaze swept across the property, heart swelling. Dalton's schemes were finished. The HOA's power had limits, and his 2 acres, his home, his future, were truly his. The valley lay quiet, triumphant, a battlefield reclaimed, and a story of strategy, courage, and justice came to its satisfying, cinematic close.